This video here is for the agencies. This is a message to all of you agencies, all of you translation agencies dealing with translators. This is a message for you. This video is for you. I've done other videos before on how to deal with the agencies if you're a translator, if you're a freelancer, but this one is for the agencies themselves because there are a couple of points you need to keep in mind when you're dealing with freelancers, when you're dealing with translators. And so we're going to go through these now. So I'm going to start at the end because the end is the most important part. So all of you agencies, let's start with this. The first thing you need to keep in mind when you're dealing with translators is you need to pay them. This is why they do it. They don't do your translation for the satisfaction of doing a translation or the satisfaction of making you happy or being able to work in different languages or providing the world with their translated work or whatever it is. A lot of that can give them added benefit, but they're doing it to make money, okay? Because they need to put food on the table. That's why they do it. That's why we all do it. Every single translator is trying to earn a living and they're trying to earn money. So you need to take the payment seriously. And for some reason, so many agencies feel like this isn't like one of the main points of the whole job to get done. So this is the only reason they do it. They do it to get paid. So they should not have to chase payments. Okay, they shouldn't have to wait until the time is due and then have to send an email, send another email, make a phone call, follow up, ask why. No, if the payment is due within 7 days, 30 days, whatever it is, they should be able to receive the payment there and that's it. Okay, and quite frankly, when you start getting a couple of clients, the clients that are able to pay on time without you having to chase them, those are the clients that you keep. The ones that you have to constantly keep chasing, those are the first ones you let go because you don't want to deal with that all the time, every single time, and worry that if you don't deal with it, you won't get paid. So no excuses, and none of these stories like, oh, the end client didn't pay us, so we can't pay you. I've gotten that before, and in fact, and other people have as well. That's not how it's supposed to work. You're the agency, so you take on that risk. That's why you get paid more than the translator, because you're project managing and you're taking on the risk. But in the meantime, you pay the translator, whose contract is only with you, not with whatever end client you chose, the risky end client you chose who didn't pay you. Their contract was with you, and they did their job, so you need to pay them. That's how it works. And now that I have an agency, that's how it works for me. I pay my translators, independently of how long I have to chase the end client or whatever's happening there. I pay them for the work they did, and if I can do it, you can do it. Okay, so. No, none of those excuses. None of the excuses like I'm out on vacation or our accounting executive is gone during those days or the accounting department doesn't know what they're doing or whatever. Those are all excuses and we all know they're excuses. Just get the payment done. Okay? And it happens every now and then that something slips through the cracks or it might be a bit late. That's fine. Every single translator I've talked to understands that. Okay? And they understand that something might happen, it might be a bit late or whatever, and then they'll send you an email and then you'll be like, oh, sorry, and then you send it through. Fine. Don't make that a habit though. It can happen once in a while, but just send the payment. Okay, what else? Actually, I'm not done with that because that is one of the main points. So let's continue a bit on a couple more points having to do with payments. The excuses like, we didn't like the translation. Very often, something like that might happen, but when you wait until the payment is due 30 days later and say, oh, I'm not paying you the full amount because I don't like the translation, that's not how it works either. If you have a problem with the translation or if you have issues with anything about the translation, you mention them right away. You say, oh, we looked over the translation and we don't understand this. We think you should have done that or whatever it is. And you can talk about it with the translator and figure it out at that point. Don't wait until the time of invoicing or anything along those lines to come up with your weird, stupid excuses because that's all they are at that point. They're weird, stupid excuses. Okay? Also, while we're on it, the payment terms, none of this 90 days from after the end of the month, after your invoice and this and that and the other, no. Like I said, I'm an agency now. I'm a very small agency. I'm smaller than whatever other agency could be watching this. And I can pay within 30 days. If I can do it, I think you can too. And, why do you need to wait half a year to pay a translator for a job they've done? If you don't have enough liquidity to pay them off, then you have other issues you should probably look into. Or you're just trying to get away with as much as possible. But the problem is you're going to lose out there as well on quality translators because most quality translators don't want to sit there and wait for half a year for their payment, wondering if after half a year, they're still going to have to chase after it. And I'm saying this because this happened to me. They still have to chase after it and then wonder if issues or problems are going to arise at that point. And, you can't do that for every single payment. Keep it in your calendar for 90 plus, more than 90, in fact, 5-6 months very often, trying to chase down payments. And the last thing having to do with payment is try to pay decently. And I don't say this only for the sake of the translator. I say this for your sake as well. If you're in this for the long term, you actually pay a translator decently, you're going to get better translators, which means you're going to get better jobs overall, and you're going to get a higher end clientele, and you're going to get translators who come back to you and can give you repeat business more often. And it makes the whole thing easier in the long term. I remember when I was first starting out, so this is about 10 years ago, there was a translation company that needed my language combination, Italian to English, and they paid, I think, 3 cents a word, which was very low. I think I ended up even doing a job for them. But anyway, since then, I've constantly, because I'm still signed up on pros.com where I get stuff in my language combination, and I've constantly see them seeking translators in my language combination. This is 10 years now, or at least almost 10 years, definitely, that they've been doing this. And there's no way this is effective. So just for fun, I'm not going to name the company because I kind of just contacted them for fun. I replied to one of their latest posts where they were looking for a translator. I was like, hey, I'm available if you want. I still have all my credentials as a translator. And then they asked what my specialty was. I told them. Then they asked if I could do a translation test. I'm like, sure. Then they asked what CAT tools I use. And at that point, I think I said I don't use any CAT tools. And then that was it. But if every single time there's a new job needed, and it seems like every 3-4 months in my language combinations, and who knows all of them, you have to keep chasing new translators and keep going through all that rigmarole just to get a translator, you're not doing it right, okay? You could have had decent translators from close to a decade ago that would have been your constant translators if you only paid a decent wage. Okay, so I'm going to end with the payment stuff now, but that's pretty much all I could think of right now. But payment is the most important part, and that's why I brought it up first, and that's why I talked about it for so long. Because whenever you go to pros.com or the Hall of Fame and Shame on Translators Cafe or any of these things, you're going to see anytime people have a complaint, they give a low rating to a translation agency. By the way, go to the blue board on pros.com or the Hall of Fame and Shame on Translators Cafe, and all the agencies are rated. In case you didn't know, I hope you did. But anytime you see a low rating for a translation agency, chances are close to 98% of the time it's because of payment. Payment wasn't given, payment had to be chased, payment, it's almost always payment, because that's the main thing. Like I said, this is the reason all the translators are doing this, is to get paid, okay? It's a livelihood, and that's how it works. Okay. And the other points, are try to be decent and have good communication. And that's pretty much it, because any other point, we as translators can work with it, okay? And if you say, I need something like this translated or all that, we can figure it out. We can ask for what needs to be translated. We can give you a price per word. We can give you a timeline. We can, and we'll figure out how to work with a PDF, how to work with a scanned copy or this, that, and the other. That's what translators do. We can deal with that. That's fine. Maybe cool it a bit on the rush jobs and realize that rush jobs, sometimes you're going to also not get a couple translators that you could have, because rush jobs, you get translators who tend to be a bit more desperate, and or they'll just charge you more for it. But otherwise, but the main thing is the payment, and so that's why I've pretty much dedicated this whole video to that issue of the payment. And so just pay your translators, pay them decently, and that's all I have to say. I say this, by the way, as a freelance translator who's now transitioning and setting up his own agency, and so I'm seeing it on both sides, and so yeah, there really is no excuse to be so demanding with translations and then so relaxed and aloof about payments. Anyway, that's pretty much it. Hopefully you find this useful. Most of my videos target the translators and the freelancers, but I thought this one was sort of needed for the agencies, also for the freelancers and translators to watch this, to know what your rights are in a way, and what you should be able to expect. If you're chasing payments for months and months, or if you're accepting weird terms for a payment, or you're getting an excuse that the end client didn't pay them so they can't pay you, those are wrong, okay? And you shouldn't be having to deal with that. So anyway, hopefully you find this useful one way or the other. Don't forget to click thumbs up if you like this. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't. And I will see you in the next video. Okay, thanks. Bye. Savidum.